Malik Washington is the guy for Maryland football.
You are Locked On Terps, your daily podcast on the Maryland Terps, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
What's up, everyone? I'm Tre Moore, host of Locked On Terps, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. So thank you guys for making us part of your day. And today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new customers can get $200 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. Malik Washington should be the quarterback one for Maryland football coming up this fall. I think he's our guy. I think he's QB1 when it's all said and done. When Coach Locksley announces a starter, when we have a guy walk out there in our first game, I think Malik Washington's our guy. I think going into the summer, it's time to make some conclusions about this team. I think we've kind of football's been a little bit on the back seat a little bit, just because there's been a lot of news happening with basketball, with bringing in a whole new roster, with bringing in a new coach, a new coaching staff, a lot of really quality transfers. There's been a lot going on in the world of basketball. That's just what it's been like, and how Maryland made a deeper run with Derek Queen and everything that's happening with the making a Sweet 16 run under Kevin Willard and all the Kevin Willard stuff. We've talked a lot of basketball, and I don't think we've talked nearly as much football as we talked football last year, because remember, basketball team didn't go that far, didn't make the tournament, also wasn't that good, so we were ready to stop talking about it at the end of the season. Kevin Willard came back, so there wasn't a whole coaching debacle. The most we were really talking about was Maryland bringing in some big-time transfers for sure, like Derek Queen was a big topic. But my point is, we've kind of put football in the backseat, and I think it's starting we got to start digging into this Maryland team, which I think it's a really interesting team that has a lot of interesting parts. I'm unsure of how good the actual roster is, but I do know this kid, Malik Washington, is one of the better talents that we've had at the quarterback position under Mike Locksley. I think probably the best talent in terms of the highest ceiling of a player in the Maryland's quarterback room that Mike Locksley has had. I don't think Talia was this talented. I know Billy Edwards wasn't as talented as Malik. Talia and Malik are different. I think Talia makes up for some of the talent deficiencies by throwing a really accurate ball, by making a lot of plays he's really not supposed to make. But I think Malik, he's going to be able to do it both worlds. He's going to be able to be a really smart player, a really accurate player, while also being a really talented, high ceiling guy. And to me, he's our guy. I think Malik Washington's our guy. I think he's QB1, and we're going to start making some conclusions about this roster. And I want to start by saying this. I could be wrong. This isn't anything but kind of a guess, and what I've kind of felt and what I've kind of watched and a little bit of what I've heard. I think Malik Washington's going to be our guy. And I just think the spring game really emphasized that, and some of those different things. I just see where this Maryland team is at in the current kind of landscape of where things are right now. I think you have to start Malik Washington. I think right now we're semi in a rebuilding kind of year for Maryland football. Last year was a bit rebuilding-ish, but this year could be rebuilding-ish as well. But last year was the most drafted players we had, but it was our worst year. So it's interesting. Worst year in a while under Mike Locksley, but I think it's a little bit of a rebuilding year. And to me, if it's a rebuilding year, if you're starting to get guys in new spots, get guys, younger guys, a lot of younger guys are going to play, I don't really see the point in starting Justin Martin. I don't. I think you let Malik Washington develop on the field. I think you let him throw it around so that next year, when we get a lot of different guys back, when we get a lot of different players, which we will, we bring a lot of our roster. You know the transfer portal is going to hit. You know that's going to be a thing. But just quick look at things. You bring a lot of players back. So I do think that is going to be big for 2 years down the line. And I think that's why it makes sense to start Malik. Like, you put Malik in position where his sophomore year, we're not like, oh, he's making his first start now. Oh, he's getting his first game action in now. He's already been in. He's ready to go. He has the whole year of game experience so that his sophomore year, when the team's really good and the team's ready to make another jump, when the team's ready to get back in to a pretty good bowl game, when the team's ready to have a 500 or better Big Ten record, when the team's ready to be a top 30 team in the country, Malik Washington can also be ready and really help us in that type of way and not hold us back. And I think that's an important part of this for Maryland football is next year it could go bad. It could maybe go better than we think. But to me, you go with the kid that you think is one. I think he's our best player. I'll go ahead and say it. I think he's our best player in that quarterback room. I think he's better than Justin Martin. I think we saw some of that in Maryland's spring game. I think we saw some of the fact that he looks better than Justin Martin early. And if the freshman looks better than you early, then he's probably going to end up being better. And it's just one game, so you put an asterisk next to it. It's just one game in a spring game. But if the freshman ends up being good early, you're better early, he's probably just going to be better. He's probably just a better player overall, and you're usually going to lean towards playing the younger guy unless they're immature or something like that. But to me, Malik Washington is mature. He's a leader. He seems to have the right kind of stuff and is built by the right kind of things, has the right type of personality to be a freshman quarterback for Maryland. That's another reason why I think he's our guy. He has that aura. He has that confidence. He has that kind of ability to, I think, really kind of transform this thing and make us go in a different direction. And I think we could be kind of starting to trend towards a direction that we don't really want to go towards. But Malik Washington, I think, is going to keep it in check for us where he really could kind of get us to go in a better direction, steer the car in the right way. And I think that there's things that he can do that Justin Martin just isn't going to be able to do as a player. So I think it makes a lot of sense for Malik to play because I think he's the better player, one. I think the sophomore thing is a real thing. I think that when you look at the team, Maryland's team projects to be better in 2 years than it does this year. It just does. It's just what it is. When you look at the team up and down, there's a lot of young guys, a lot of young players. They're also recruiting really well. The 2025 class was our best class yet. So there's a lot of good things to go on, but that does project in a couple of years, not next year. And so you want Malik Washington to be ready. I also just think he's already the best quarterback in that room. And then Justin Martin also has a case in this. It's the fact that Justin Martin looked bad in Maryland spring game. He didn't look that good. He didn't look that great. He looked like a guy that wasn't really comfortable with the offense. Like he hasn't adjusted well. Like he hasn't gotten a lot better from UCLA. A guy he looked like the freshman, to be completely honest. He looked like the guy that hasn't played very much. I mean, he hasn't played very much college football, but a guy that hasn't been college that long, that he looked like a guy that was a little bit rattled, a guy that wasn't completely ready, missed some throws, made some wrong reads. And it's a spring game, so that's totally fine, but it just doesn't help his case when Malik Washington is already chomping at the bit and has all the momentum from Maryland's program. You talk about momentum from everyone else. I'm telling you, the crowd, the fans, even Michael Locksley probably secretly in his head wants to see Malik play. It's going to be a big uproar if he's not out there. That's just what the deal is. That's just what the case is. If Malik Washington's not out there, day one to start for the Maryland Terrapins, there's going to be an uproar. People are going to talk about it. People are going to say stuff about it if he's not out there. And I think it's another reason why he's our guy. And I think you can't mess around with these things these days with the transfer portal, with people sending quarterbacks $1 billion, it feels like, to come play quarterback at UCLA, or $1 million to come play quarterback at Alabama or Georgia, whatever the case is. You can't mess around with the kid, the talent of Malik Washington, because a guy like that, if he doesn't play his freshman year, another team could be like, Maryland didn't play your freshman year. We can offer you $1 million to come play quarterback here. And can Maryland match that? Probably not. What's Maryland going to do? And I think there's a less likelihood that a guy leaves after his freshman year if he's a guy that's playing a ton. Part of that is a little bit like, is that true exactly? Like, I think a lot of that is true. I think the more he plays, the more experience he gets, the less likely he is to leave. And it feels like it's rare to get a player for 4 years on your team. Like when you start looking down rosters, you don't get a lot of guys for 4 years. You just don't. So I do think he's a guy you want for at least 3 of the 4 years. for whatever the case is, NFL, decides to go somewhere else his senior year. But if he's not playing his freshman year, his eyes might look towards the portal. That's just what it is to me. And so I do think it makes sense for Malik Washington. I think he's our guy. I think you don't mess around with it. I think he's our best player in that quarterback room. I really do think that. The only thing that I would say is to sit him if the offensive line is just horrendous, like horrendously bad, like some of the NFL stuff where it's like you can't play a rookie quarterback if your offensive line is really bad because he's going to get hit, he's going to get hurt, all those different things. If the offensive line is like that bad, then maybe. Or if it's something the sorts where he's just struggling, he doesn't look good in practice, don't force him to go out there. It can be more of a midseason thing. But right now, it seems like he's the best guy in that room. It seems like he's the most talented player. I know he's the most talented player in that room. I want to say this. Christian Martin did have a really good spring game, but Christian Martin's not going to start over Malik Washington. I just can't see that happening. So I just think Malik Washington's our guy. I think you don't mess around too much with it. You don't get this type of talent every single day. And this is a guy that Mike Locksley hasn't had a chance to be able to get a guy like this at the quarterback room, to get a talent like this, to say, yeah, this guy has real potential to play on Sundays. He can run. He can make big-time throws. He can do all these different things. I haven't had a guy like this. I think it would be a good idea to use him early on and not mess around with a guy like this. And so I do think Malik Washington's our guy. I think he should start right away for the Terps. I think he has a chance to be freshman of the year, maybe in the Big Ten, all those different things. And I think he could solidify himself and have one of the better freshman seasons we've seen out of Maryland quarterback without Maryland having a great season. But that's a kind of a topic for another day. Maryland football has a couple new commits. We'll talk about who they are, who the commits are next. Scaling your business requires the right expertise at the right time with Upwork. You can find specialized freelancers in marketing, development, design, and more. Experts ready to help you take your business to the next level. Upwork gives businesses flexibility by connecting them with top freelance talent across multiple industries, including IT, AI, web development, and marketing. Whether you need an extra hand for a project or long-term partner, Upwork makes hiring simple and affordable. If you need help with marketing and campaign, Upwork can connect you with a freelance expert who deliver incredible results. Posting a job is free and simple, and within a day with multiple qualified candidates to choose from. Instead of hiring full-time, Upwork helps find affordable, top-tier freelancers to scale your business efficiently. Visit Upwork.com right now and post your job for free. That's UPWORK.com. Upwork.com to connect with top talent and grow your business today. So Maryland got a bunch of new portal commits, and so we kind of wrapped up this little segment of recruiting in terms of getting different players and getting guys out of the portal. And I kind of want to go over the ads and kind of talk about what I think about each one. I'm going to give it a scale of 1 to 10, how much I think this guy can help us, how much do I think this guy can play for us right away. So we'll start with that. So this is all spring portal signings as of May 6th. So some guys we talked about, some guys we haven't talked about a ton, but I want to talk about each one. So we start with Gavin Edwards, defensive back, redshirt sophomore, 6'1", 190 pounds. He went to Austin P. And so I think that's an interesting type of guy. He was also at North Greenville University for 2 years. So he's been an interesting guy. He has 3 years of eligibility remaining. I think where our DB room stands, I talked about it the other day. I actually think our DB room is better than what I initially thought it was going to be. I think it's actually one of our deeper spots. I think out of a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being like he's a glorified, like going to be a huge impact player, 1 being he's not going to help us at all, or he's not going to help us at all. I think this kid's like a 4. I'm not sure exactly with the roster and where it's at right now, how much impact he's going to have early. I'm also unsure of how good of a player he is exactly, especially when you don't come from a Power 5 school. He appeared in 7 games during the 2024 season, recording 29 tackles, 21 solo tackles, and 6 passes defended. So he's definitely a pretty good player, but he's just a guy that I just don't know. And with how the current landscape of that corner room looks, I do think that corner room is actually in a really good spot. Moving on to Edwin Moore Jr. So this is another interesting type of guy, not coming from a Power 4 school. He appeared in all 12 games last year for West Carolina, recorded 18 tackles, 3 tackles for loss, and tied for second on the team with 4 quarterback hurries last season. So this guy doesn't sound like he's going to be like a huge pass rusher for us, but I do think in terms of him being a defensive lineman, his size, I do think he can be an impact guy for us at 6'3", 281. He also has 3 years of eligibility. And this is what I'm talking about with my initial point about Malik Washington. There's a lot of guys that have a lot of eligibility remaining, like this kid, Edwin Moore. But to get back to my point, I think on a scale of 1 to 10, I think he's a 6. I think he gets in the defensive line rotation. I don't think he's like a starting defensive lineman for us, but I think he plays in that rotation, which we definitely need. But we brought in a lot of different guys in that room. So I think Sean O'Hare, who's the kicker from Richmond, he's from Ireland originally, was a perfect 12 for 12 last season for William and Mary at a 50-yard kick. To me, his impact's a 10. He's probably going to be our starting kicker with Jack out now. This is a guy that we need to kick for us, a guy that we need to come in, level out some of the kicking game. I do think he really helps us in some of those different things. And he also still has 4 years of eligibility remaining. So I think overall he's like a 10, because if you get a kicker that's going to start for you, whether it's a good thing or a bad thing, and this isn't me saying like his impact is necessarily going to be amazing. I'm not saying this kid's impact is going to be bad. I just want to clarify. But I do think this kid is really going to help us overall in terms of what he's going to bring to the table, because I do think whenever you bring in a new kicker that's going to start, they're an impact player for you. And then moving on, some other guys that we added. Cam Rice, defensive lineman from Ohio. I really like this kid. I think he's a 7. I think he's going to be one of our key players on the defensive line. He had really nice stats last year. Had 8.5 tackles for loss and 3 sacks, to me, which is really good. Only has 1 year of eligibility remaining, but I do think he's going to be really good for us. He's 6'3", 290. So I do think he's going to really help us fill up a lot of area, and I kind of see him as like a 7 type of guy, another guy that is big for defensive line, depth for Maryland football. And then we bring in this Jordan Scott kid, who's one of the top JUCO receivers, number 2 JUCO receiver. I think this kid's impact probably at a 7 as well. He's 6'7", 225. So this kid's huge. Like, he's tall. So when I think of a guy like this, I'm surprised nobody's been like, yeah, come play for us, but we're going to transition you to a tight end and put weight on you. But he can do some stuff in the red zone at 6'7". Has 2 years of eligibility remaining. I'm really interested to see kind of how he looks. And then the last 2 are defensive linemen. Cedric Smith from Alabama A&M, 3-star transfer prospect. He had 3.5 tackles for loss and a pair of sacks last year in 2024. Also had a big-time offers out of high school. I don't really know what happened with that, from Georgia Tech, Purdue, and so he still has 3 years of eligibility. I like his talent. I think he's around a 7 as well, 6'4", 315. I love all the defensive linemen we added last year. I really think it's going to help us. And then Joel Starlings was one of the top defensive linemen transfers on the market. To me, he's about a 9. He's 6'4", 320, comes from UNC, so you know he's ready to play Big Ten football. But he was really good in terms of in the portal, getting a guy that is one of the top-ranked guys in the portal. I do think he will end up actually really helping us and helping the Terps. Let's talk about Zion Elee. Does he stay at Terps? Is there rumblings of him potentially going somewhere else? I'll talk about that next. The NBA playoffs are in full swing, and every night delivers highlight-worthy performances. Major momentum shifts and can't miss moments. Whether it's a game-winning shot or a breakout player, there's even a better time to get in on the action. FanDuel makes it easy to stay in the game. Before tip-off and live with player props, performance trends, and same-game parlays, fans have ways. They have ways than ever to play smart and win big. Which players are showing up in the biggest moment? You can see that and bet that on FanDuel. You can do so many different things. You could get $200 of bonus bet with the excitement of your first $5 bet hits. Make sure you guys head over to FanDuel. There's so much stuff with the NBA and NHL playoffs right now. Head over to FanDuel. It's a perfect time to set up and place your first $5 bet. If it wins, you'll get $200 in bonus bets. Make every moment more with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. Let's talk Zion Elee. So I have been sneaking him into the last segment throughout the past couple of months because he's not big enough right now in terms of his story to talk about in the first segment, but he's also extremely important for Maryland football and what he brings to the Terps and the Terps 2026 class. He's arguably the best player in the class. Everybody has him rated top 10. A lot of people have him rated top 5. Like, he's the best player in that class, arguably. He's a freakish defensive end type of talent that I don't think it's too early to say something like this. If he comes through Maryland, if he stays through Maryland, he's going to have a chance to be one of the better Maryland defensive line men that Maryland's had. And I've stressed the importance. I don't think Maryland's had much of a pass rush under Coach Loxley. There hasn't been anybody that I'm like, yeah, that guy's been really good at rushing the passer. Like, what pass rusher has gone on and played in the NFL for us? Like, you can't, or over in the Mike Loxley era, like, there isn't one right now. And so, to me, getting a guy like Zion Elee, a guy that can pass rush, is extremely important. And, of course, he's already committed to the Terps, and he's already on the team and everything like that. But I do want to stress the importance of this and why it's important that he stays committed in some of the other things that are going on. Like, this isn't for me to say, yeah, it's nice that we got Zion Elee. Everybody knows that. Everyone knows that. It's good that we got Zion Elee. Everyone knows he's going to be an impact guy for us. But there is some interesting stuff going on with his commitment. Anytime a player like this ends up committing to Maryland, really when a player commits anywhere these days, it's not safe. It's just not. And Zion Elee, the second-ranked player in 247, number 1 ranked in Maryland, number 1 edge, tweeted something interesting. He tweeted an emoji that was really interesting that aligned with the Auburn Tigers. And the interesting part about this was Auburn was one of the places when he said when he was committed to Maryland, he was going to go on a bunch of official visits. He was going to go to a bunch of different places. He was going to go visit all these different places. There was a bunch lined up. It was like there was one to Oregon. There was one to Ohio State. There was one to Auburn. Like, there were some big programs that he was planning on going to. But then he shut it down and said, I'm all in on Maryland. I want to be a Terp and all those different things. And that excited me. And I was excited that ended up happening like that he wanted to be in Maryland, that he wanted to stay with the Terps. But you always kind of think, how committed is a guy like this with the money that a place like Auburn can offer? It feels like we're losing a lot of guys to Auburn these days. There's always going to be something going on with this. And right now, Maryland's 2026 class is ranked pretty highly because of this kid and a guy that you definitely want to keep. So I do think he'll end up staying, but I do think that there is a chance he still ends up going. I know he says he's shutting down his recruitment and all those different things, but until he ends up at Maryland's campus, he is not locked in. Like, he's not locked in, and we can't trust him to be. And every single year, you're going to have to be like, is he going to probably leave? Like, that's just the reality of today's college football. Some people love it. Some people hate it. It's weird. It's NFL-like. It's free agency-like, but that's kind of the reality of the situation right now. That's all we have for today. Thank you guys for listening to Locked on Terps. Make sure you like and subscribe. We're here every day talking Maryland football and basketball, so make sure you guys like and subscribe. But thank you guys for listening to Locked on Terps.